More details have been released as to why Molly Qerim abruptly quit ESPN. And when I say abruptly quit, I mean she left work, I think it was on Monday, and she never came back.
Breaking news in the sports media world, Molly Qerim, I believe that's how you say her last name, she is actually going to be stepping down from First Take today, or at the end of the year, she was going to be stepping down as the host of First Take.
It's not every week we get to watch the machinery of ESPN, the slickest, most stubbornly stable partnership in American sports media, suddenly hit the eject button on its morning show queen. We all saw the headlines. Molly Qerim, the face of First Take for a decade, didn't stroll off into a sunset tribute or write out her contract to a bubbly-soaked farewell. No, her resignation landed out of nowhere in mid-September 2025, a date that now feels radioactive for everyone inside Bristol. ESPN's top brass scrambled to paint the exit as ordinary, with Burke Magnus hammering the no controversy line in every interview. But nobody close to the story could keep a straight face. Even the executives had to admit the timing blindsided them. On social media, the word abrupt didn't begin to cover it. 10 years in that host chair and then just gone, like she'd never existed. The official statements were pure comfort food, but the real story was already leaking out from every corner.
I also wonder, bro, like from a human perspective, Molly was your sidekick for 10 years. We don't need to know she abruptly resigned.
Yeah.
Protect her at all costs.
Yeah.
That's my big thing, Social Trey.
I thought she was
Like,
here for the end of the year. I guess she's done now.
Remember, she didn't want it to leak because Molly ends up putting out a statement that, hey, it's unfortunately leaked. I didn't want it to, etc. But protect her at all costs.
The first strange detail? Molly's Instagram sign-off, which fans had to squint at for meaning. She poured out thanks to viewers for welcoming me into your homes, called it an honor, a privilege, all that familiar Emmy night stuff. But then nothing, no specifics, not a single explanation for why she was walking away when, by all accounts, ESPN was trying to keep her, contract talks ongoing. But the weirdest omission, she never once typed Stephen A. Smith's name. Not a tag, not a thank you, not a single syllable. For a decade, she'd shared the set, the spotlight, and more than a few on-air sparring matches with Smith, the most powerful voice in the building. And now, radio silence. If we needed a clue that something had curdled behind the scenes, that silence might as well have been a foghorn.
Describe yourself in 3 words.
Aware, thoughtful, and passionate.
What do you have too much of?
Shoes,
Guilty pleasure.
retail therapy.
What would you do if you didn't host First Take?
I would work for a global nonprofit or host a travel show.
If you think we're reading too much into social media etiquette, just ask Marcellus Wiley. The former ESPN host and ex-NFL star wasted no time before grabbing his mic and throwing gasoline on the fire. On his podcast, Wiley claimed it was all about money and creative control. Molly wants more money to stay on that show, or give me what I want and let me go do more. They balked at both. No word mincing there. Wiley insists she was done suffering for the morning zoo paycheck and wanted either a fat raise or a green light to host her own projects. ESPN, for all its CEO bluster, balked at both. According to Wiley's inside sources, the relationship with Stephen A. was already fracturing. Wiley claimed that if Smith had really gone to bat for her, the network would have found the money. Instead, Qerim became instantly disposable, even after anchoring their top-rated show, even after years of corporate loyalty. Wiley put it in raw terms: when he signs off on you, you get what you want. When he doesn't, you don't. It doesn't get more inside baseball than that. We're talking about a place where you could be the backbone of a #1 show, but if you don't have Smith's nod, you're out-earned by analysts from less-watched programs. Mina Kimes, for example, pulling a bigger salary while Qerim's negotiating for scraps. Wiley made sure everyone heard that comparison.
Let's remember, what did just last week Stephen A. was on air bragging about the people he stood up for to get paid, and how many, Cam, I did it for Shannon Sharp, and I did it for this person and that person. And when I look at the abrupt, like, I'm not coming into work tomorrow.
Yeah.
That also is like, maybe there's pointing a finger at Stephen A. Smith.
All the while, the official ESPN line was still no shoe to drop. Magnus and the higher-ups pushed their version, that Molly just wanted to turn the page after a decade, that maybe she was ready to explore other things. We're supposed to believe everyone's friends, everything's clean, and the biggest on-air shakeup in years just happened because of life changes. But the evidence says otherwise. Agnes admitted the timing wasn't what we planned. Qerim's agent declined to comment. And meanwhile, her absence was already triggering tryouts for her replacement. a public scramble for the host chair, with the network openly floating everyone from Malika Andrews to Joy Taylor and Peter Schrager. The rumors of a big Fox Sports offer, millions on the table, only added fuel. Fox, it turns out, had been circling, ready to let Molly cover the NFL, college football, even lead high-profile studio shows. You don't line up those kind of deals unless someone on the inside tips you off that the house is burning down.
She was quitting right now. Both ESPN and Molly Qerim, they are trying to polish things. They're trying to make this look like an amicable divorce. And look, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Maybe they couldn't come to an agreement and they agreed to amicably part ways. I'm more interested in why.
But back in Bristol, the temperature was still rising. Because it wasn't just Molly refusing to acknowledge Stephen A. Smith, Smith himself got unusually tight-lipped about what went wrong. He opened First Take with a tribute thick enough to spread on toast, calling Molly a friend and an enormous part of the show's success. But the emotional act didn't fool Emmanuel Acho, who decided to go public with what everyone in sports media was already whispering. Don't tell us the details, then tell us you're not going to tell us the details, Acho shot back on his own show. Smith, in classic magician style, revealed just enough to keep the audience guessing, saying the details were none of y'all business, insisting he didn't know all the details, but then admitting he had an idea why she'd left. It was sports media's version of the shell game. We see the pea, then it's gone, then it's back in another cup. Molly won't say a word about Stephen A. Stephen A. swears he's in the dark, while also knowing the secret recipe. There's no way that's a coincidence. Not in the middle of a contract dispute, not after a decade together on the highest wire of morning sports TV.
I'll be honest, I looked up to Stephen A. Smith for a very, very long time. He was one of the reasons why I got into sports media, but then I ended up meeting him. Wasn't the most, one of those don't meet your hero type experience. I don't know all the details, and I'm not going to tell you all the details because it's not your business. But I'm gonna be honest, it was an uncomfortable situation, and now watching him, get older, trying to go into the digital space, it can be a little uncomfortable.
And as the smoke cleared from Qerim's vanishing act, something even stranger happened. Just days after Molly's seat went empty, ESPN started rolling out new power for Stephen A. Smith. Like clockwork, they revealed his expanded role on Monday Night Football, one of their highest stakes, most league-controlled broadcasts. Smith was already signed to a $100 million mega contract. Now, suddenly, he's not just the face of First Take, he's front and center on the NFL's flagship show, rubbing elbows with Jason Kelce, Scott Van Pelt, and the rest of the football power brokers. Smith even admitted, they'll certainly want more of me on NBA Countdown, whatever's going to help make the network successful. One week, Molly is debating contracts and creative freedom. The next, she's out the door, Smith is everywhere, and the message couldn't be clearer. ESPN picked its horse for the next decade of NFL coverage.
Last night, she abruptly resigned as the host of the show. And to say that I'm quite sad about it is an understatement.
That's the part everyone on social media latched onto. The idea that Molly's abrupt exit wasn't just a sad end to a long partnership. It looked, to plenty of insiders, like a carefully timed chess move. Remove the one person who might block Smith's future as the all-purpose face of ESPN's league relationships, and suddenly the network can give the NFL whatever it wants. With Smith on football's biggest stage, Qerim's empty chair is a symbol, not a coincidence. Some fans even speculated this was the price of ESPN's ongoing deal-making with the league itself. Loyalty out, business in. And while the official statement still drone on about new opportunities and business as usual, the real drama is only just breaking the surface. Because in the world of sports media, departures like this aren't the end of a chapter. They're the trigger for a power reshuffle that's about to rewrite the whole playbook.
Don't tell us the details, then tell us you're not going to tell us the details. Like,
and then add on that, I don't know the details. What are you doing? What are you doing?
He said this. He said she abruptly resigned. That's a detail.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to say, but don't ask me the details because I'm not going to tell y'all the details. That's none of y'all business.
Even as the dust from Qerim's abrupt departure had barely settled, Burke Magnus was already dialing up his favorite line in every interview. There's no shoe to drop. The phrase, dropped with almost religious repetition, was meant to douse speculation. But in reality, it had the opposite effect. If there was truly nothing lurking beneath the surface, why did ESPN's response feel like a prepackaged crisis plan? Why did the network, after days of spinning the break as business as usual, suddenly announce a brand new multi-year extension for Malika Andrews? The timing was suspicious. Andrews locked up just hours after Molly vanished, with the ink on her own Instagram post barely dry. At the same time, ESPN wasted no time launching a 30 to 45-day parade of fill-in hosts for First Take, as if an entire shortlist had been quietly polished, waiting in a secret folder for the moment the story went public. If this is what no shoe dropping looks like, then we're all in the wrong business.
The other thing I thought, Steve, was when you pay Stephen A. Smith $20 million, that means, okay, well, whoever his co-host is, they're going to want an exorbitant amount of money. And so she may have been making $2.5, $3 million as the host. Well, when Stephen A. is sitting there making 20, well, maybe now she wants to make 10.
From the outside, the whole operation looked coordinated. One anchor cut loose, another star promoted, and a revolving door of hopeful replacements marching through Bristol as the cameras kept rolling. Social media noticed too. Fans weren't buying the corporate spin about creative freedom and fresh starts. Instead, the whispers grew. Had ESPN been prepping for Qerim's exit behind the scenes, setting up Andrews as the next franchise face while bracing for a storm? It didn't help that the speed of this pivot looked anything but accidental. Even Magnus couldn't deny that Qerim's timing wasn't what we planned. But the rest of the process looked like it was set to autopilot the second Molly's Instagram post hit the timeline.
You know, oftentimes when you have someone abruptly quit a job, they're not leaving on the best terms. Normally, it's polite to give your employer some kind of notice, right?
Yet, for all the talk of succession plans and smooth handovers, the network still couldn't bear the controversy swirling around Stephen A. Smith himself. The archives were already full of moments that now read differently. On air, Smith had joked about Molly's eating habits during commercial breaks, comparing it to a panelist refusing to kiss snakes. A throwaway line, maybe, but one that caught fire on social media. Readers called the comment weird and inappropriate, with some wondering if it hinted at personal resentment or an ugly power dynamic. These on-air slip-ups, harmless or not, became part of the mounting evidence critics used to argue that ESPN enables Smith, while turning the heat up on others. The network's top star, immune to fallout, continues his ascension, while his longtime co-host is replaced before the chair even goes cold.
When I heard that it was immediate, I was like, oh, she must already have a job lined up. And the job that she has lined up must be some sort of competitor to ESPN. And so that made me, is she going to Fox Sports?
Of course, the question of why Molly Qerim stayed silent about Smith after her exit hung in the air. Was it just professionalism, or did it point to something deeper? Rumors piled up, with fans speculating that Qerim's restraint, no mention, no thank you, no back and forth on social platforms, was its own message. Social threads boiled over, asking whether she'd been forced into a clean break, or if she simply wanted to avoid a public feud. Smith, for his part, made sure to keep the secrets locked up. That story is for her to tell. Do I have an idea? Of course I do. Am I going to share it with you? No. With that, he managed to pour gasoline on every theory. If Smith knows something that would blow the lid off this story, he's making sure the next move isn't his.
Jason, I actually watched that whole video clip of Stephen A. Smith. I just thought it was funny. It ain't none of y'all business. It was a contract negotiation. Well, oh, so that was about the money. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for cluing it. It's always about the money, though. It's like in boxing. Why didn't this fight happen? Easy, there wasn't enough money.
And we can't ignore the bigger machinery at work either. It's not just about bruised egos or broken friendships. It's about the gravitational pull of the NFL and ESPN's willingness to orbit closer and closer to the league's wishes. Just look at the timeline. Qerim out, Smith elevated to Monday Night Football coverage, and Fox Sports waiting in the wings with a multi-million-dollar offer for Molly to do, you guessed it, NFL and college football. It's almost poetic. Both Smith's rise and Qerim's next chapter revolve around the same golden ticket. And as for ESPN, the NFL isn't just a property, it's the engine driving their billion-dollar future. Any move that strengthens that bond, even if it means benching a loyal host, suddenly looks like smart business. Insiders claim it's no longer about journalism, chemistry, or who brings the real debates to morning television. Now it's about keeping league executives happy, keeping the broadcast windows packed, and keeping any potential roadblocks out of the way.
I think we'll start with Molly Qerim. She, yesterday when we talked, we knew that she was leaving, but we didn't know she was leaving like immediately, which is an indication that, man, this thing's a bit more complicated than just they couldn't settle on the money. It just seems more seriously. She's off the show now.
Meanwhile, the culture inside ESPN is shifting and everyone's watching for the next signal. Tryouts for Qerim's chair begin while the headlines are still trending. Courtney Cronin, Joy Taylor, Peter Schrager, all solid names, but none of them come with the same history or the same leverage. Every day, the network reminds us that First Take will survive, the debates will go on, and the next star is waiting just offstage. But the reality is less comfortable. With Smith's power at an all-time high, the message to any future host is clear. Keep the peace, or you'll be replaced before your contract is even finished.
Molly is a friend. Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years.
It's impossible to ignore the numbers behind the power struggle. Smith's $100 million contract didn't just make him the highest paid face in the building, it made him the symbol of ESPN's new order, where financial firepower trumps every other value. As the ink dried on Smith's unprecedented deal, insiders couldn't help but compare it to Qerim's own stalled negotiations, where even her request for a raise or more creative freedom was shut down. The contrast couldn't be sharper. Smith's willingness to step onto any show, any league broadcast, and do whatever they asked put him exactly where the network wanted, on call for their most valuable partners and ready to say yes to every NFL directive. It's a kind of flexibility that comes with a price tag, and with the understanding that loyalty to the league, not to colleagues, is what gets rewarded.
And a lot of times, some of these things happen, and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business, but it's not as if I know all the details. There's a contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her, but in the end, she made a decision.
This evolving hierarchy has psychological consequences too. Smith's transformation from brash commentator to corporate ambassador means that every decision, every contract, every casting change ripples outward, with him at the center. To some, he's proof that ESPN's priorities have shifted irrevocably. The broadcaster who once sparred for the sake of fans now sells access, star power, and league harmony above all else. Hurrying, denied raise, her sudden disappearance, and the ghosting of her contributions serve as a warning to anyone hoping for the old guard's sense of loyalty or fair play. Smith's rise wasn't just about talent or chemistry. It was about ESPN reshaping itself into a service organization for the biggest leagues in the country, even if that meant sidelining those who built its brand.
Whether she goes to FS1 or launches her own show on YouTube, I wish Molly Qerim nothing but the best. I don't want to see her fail, but at the same time, I don't see a path to success. It is hard to build an audience by yourself. It's hard to build and sustain an audience when it's just you.
For Qerim, the result was painfully clear, where Smith's adaptability and public allegiance to the network's league partners brought him new opportunities and untouchable status. Her refusal to simply accept the old terms led to an abrupt end. This clash of values, money and league service versus journalistic integrity and on-air chemistry, has come to define the new ESPN. The faces may change, the show titles may shuffle, but as long as the biggest contracts dictate the storylines, every future host and producer will be measuring their worth against a different standard. And for viewers who remember when debates were authentic and the network felt accountable to fans, the Smith-Qerim split is more than an office drama. It's a blueprint for what comes next. Let's not forget the biggest irony, the very thing Molly Qerim was reportedly denied, more creative power, a platform to do her own show, freedom to speak her mind, is now on the table at Fox Sports with millions attached. Her Instagram farewell hinted that her journey wasn't over, ending with a simple "stay tuned." If she really does have something lined up, and if her new network gives her the freedom she wanted, there's a very real chance we'll finally hear what went down behind those conference room doors. Did she witness backroom deals, decisions made not for the fans or the debates, but to protect ESPN's deals with the NFL? Was her silence bought, or is she waiting for the right moment to drop her own story? Even Smith seemed nervous about what she might reveal, refusing to give any details, even as the speculation spiraled.
What's up, everybody? I'm Molly Qerim, and do you know the real me? Find out. Kayla, let's go.
And that's the tightrope ESPN now walks, trying to keep its audience distracted with fresh faces and expanded league coverage, hoping that the story of Qerim's departure fades before anyone starts asking the wrong questions. But with Molly's next move just over the horizon and her silence still echoing louder than any press release, nobody's betting this drama is over. If Qerim steps out with a tell-all or drops bombshells about the true nature of ESPN's partnership with the NFL, what happens then? Are we finally going to see proof that the network's loyalty is to billion-dollar contracts, not to the people who built its shows from the ground up? So as we watch the empty host chair, Smith taking another step onto the NFL's biggest stage, and Molly Qerim preparing her next act, we have to ask, when the truth comes out, Whose side will ESPN really be on? The fans and the journalists, or the league that pays their bills? Drop your hottest theories in the comments below because this story is far from over. Until next time, keep your eyes open, your popcorn ready, and remember, in the world of sports scandals, nothing stays buried for long.